This is Byron Nicole White, and for the third time, Tom Ferry on episode 222.
I love it, man.
Of the real word. Word is up.
Word is up, Nicole.
Good thing I'm here.
That's the name of the show there, people.
That's right.
Good thing
We've
I'm
got
here.
222 times. We've got a traditional real word. You were just on when we were at Mo's Son.
Yes.
For the Ravens event. We went a little non-traditional off the cuff. This is a traditional real word. 2 rackets, a Marketeer of the Week, which Tom has personally selected the Marketeer of the Week. First time I think we've ever had that. Someone else selecting the Marketeer. And let's just start right off the top. Racket number 1. This is an Inman article. We'll link it up as always. Headline: First rule of housing bubbles: don't talk about them, economists warn. So Zillow senior economist Jeff Tucker is skeptical that a housing bubble is looming, but he worries such talk could hurt future buyers in need of home builders to continue producing new inventory. He references the Dallas Fed report that was about a month or so ago. And he talks about this obvious need for inventory, and that if we continue to talk about a bubble, that we might scare off builders. Builders, by the way, are already saying less traffic on some of these, large developments, whether you're talking about here in Texas. There's a whole bunch of them quoted in a recent article that we talked about on the walkthrough. Florida, Arizona, Phoenix inventory is up 35% over the last few weeks. So a lot of builders are citing the fact that they have less traffic. I believe they would base their next move off of their traffic in their communities. How many more are we going to build in the next phase, et cetera? But I'll ask you, Tom, should we be talking about a potential housing bubble and what's going on in the market to create those fears?
I've got 2 thoughts here. First, thanks for having me on the show. If you don't discuss it, I understand why they're saying, because they're like, hey, the mob, if we all start talking about it, it could become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Sure.
All the data says there's not a chance of it, right? All the data says, you look at everything we talk about at KCM, you look at what Ivy Zellman's talking about, you look at, there's too much momentum in the market, and there's too many millennials that want to buy for us to say we're going into a housing bubble. Now, when you look at interest rates and the impact of inflation, will we do less transactions? We're already on pace for less transactions. But last year, we had a blistering number of transactions. So if we didn't do less, I would think something was wrong. But what happens is, if you go from a lightning hot, white hot market to a red hot market, people start to panic. The reality is, I would argue right now, things are great, but there's a lot of uncertainty around political unrest, which I know we're going to talk about. There's uncertainty around banking. There's this fear of, are rates going to go to 7 to try and curtail inflation? So when you have all these kind of doom and gloom potential headlines, it creates uncertainty for people. But I'm telling you right now, putting your head in the sand as a real estate knowledge broker is a horrible idea. My argument is, screenshot, iPhone, Jeremy Knight, and you literally say, did you read this article? So here's an article that says this. Here's another article that says, what do you think? What's your opinion? Let me know in the comments below.
And what do you think is a great social strategy to increase your awareness and your brand on Instagram or wherever you're asking that question?
1000%. So, whether it's Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Reels, the point is be everywhere, but I say hit it head on.
Yeah.
In 2006, I was doing teleconference calls and seminars telling people, sell the Rolex that you don't need, get rid of your second home. The world is about to collapse. Then it was obvious, right? Today, when you look at the amount of equity in the marketplace, it would be hard to argue that there's going to be a major bubble. Now, is the stock market a little nervous right now? No doubt.
Yeah.
But I would argue that means the stock market is on sale right now. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So I say you talk about it, you ask questions, and then you contrast other data points. So, hey, here's Bloomberg's article. Here's something I just got from the Fed. Here's what, CNN Hoobie-Doo says. Here's what I just got from Fox. Like, I would just be the one that's contrasting and saying, hey, we all know that headlines do more to terrify than they do to clarify, but what's going on in our local marketplace? Let me share with you the data. When you're reading national news, you've always got to talk to a local expert to talk about what's happening here, because here doesn't always translate to what's happening, across the country.
This is something Nicole does better than probably 99.9% of agents. She looks at her hot sheet in the CTMLS every single day. She recites.
Well, multiple.
Tell them what you do on the hot sheet.
I do everything on the hot sheet. I like new listings coming soon. I like to look at what's under contract, closed, but I also love to see what agents are actually doing the business, who was the listing agent, who was the buyer's agent.
Your
It actually helps.
curiosity when you ask
It's
the agents, like, how'd that deal come together? Because you know which agents are putting what deal together,
oh, for
where that buyer
sure.
comes
Yeah.
from, so you can speak
Or like,
intelligently
oh, they
with the
have a
local
buyer
market.
at that price range. Like I have a listing at that price range. Like maybe they'll have a buyer for my next listing. I just like to know the ins and outs of every agent, as well as obviously, I mean, everyone wants to know pricing or how things like quickly they went, or how long they took, or how long are things sitting on the market, or price reductions. We're seeing a lot more price reductions right now, which is like huge. For again, we have an agent. It's funny. She's downstairs right now, and she's like, "It took 10 days for my house to go under contract." I was
They haven't been through the other market.
nervous. Yeah.
And we're talking
So I'm
about
like, well,
Connecticut.
yeah. So we're like, hopefully, you're now having a different conversation. Like what is now your script for on a listing appointment? Like, what are you now going to be like talking about on your listings instead of like, don't worry, we'll get 15 million offers in 4 hours. So
yeah,
I love
for both of you guys, anyone that's listening right now, if you started selling homes, let's just call it after 2012, this is the only market you know.
Right.
You only know minus the summer of 2018 when rates went from like almost
Connecticut though, 2012, 13. Yeah, I'm like, go easy. That was
just Connecticut.
Just
Connecticut. Go easy. Right. Go easy. Go easy.
12 to 16 was not good in
not
Connecticut.
good. No.
Local market, Connecticut.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. But you're right. It's been on an upswing.
Yeah. I mean, again, like if all you know is rates are low, appreciation, lots of offers, hurry up and write. Now is the time that you have to slow down, be the educator. Nicole, you were talking about daily hot sheets. Like that's something I've been obsessed with for like decades. Like you've got to look at the MLS twice a day, know it cold. And it made me think, like, if you just took a screenshot of the MLS, the hot sheets, and you just did an audio recording over it. Hey, so look, here's another sale. Here's what's going on here. Look at this one. Days on market's this. And you did that on a daily basis and showed consumers what you see as an agent in the MLS. I think that'd be a cool show.
There's still so much value in the MLS that isn't on Redfin, that isn't on Z, that isn't on RDC. 100%. Just the fact that you can list homes in a neighborhood from the top sale to the number 10 sale. You can't, as a consumer on the app, curate that list easy enough where it adds value. You got to go searching, and it's very difficult to do it. So use the MLS as a tool until these sites catch up, because they will.
I think
they'll have that.
That's a great show for someone that's watching right now. That's a really good idea.
And there's the marketeer.
There you go. That's a hidden marketing tip inside the first racket. So I agree with you. Don't shy away. Use these headlines to your advantage, because there's so much information out there that tells us real estate is a safe haven for anybody trying to build wealth in this country throughout their life. Use these headlines as a weapon. I wouldn't shy away from it. I understand, like you said, why Jeff Tucker, Zillow senior economist, what he is saying, that you don't want to create that.
Yeah, you don't want to create the panic. You don't want the mob.
Well, the panic's already there. So, I mean, obviously our job is to calm the panic. I think so many people still have, concern, because a lot of us, again, obviously were around when the market dropped. So of course, the last time it was good, it was bad very quickly. So
they're still hurting
from for sure.
GFC.
I would recommend everybody listening right now, go to tomferry.com try KCM. Try KCM.com / Tom Ferry.
Or BAM.
Okay, either way. I'm just thinking because I know the deck that we put up.
Yes.
But one of the most important slides of our last show, beyond the fact that we showed the cohort of millennials and how big they are, and then we talked a little bit about their social graphics, who they are, what's important to them, which I know we'll talk about politics in a minute. But one of the most important slides was when we looked at bad product that created the 7, 8, 9, 10 crisis versus today. So you literally see red, bad product, and it shows that decade long of bad product. Then starting in 2009, 10, the elimination of all that bad product. And now all you see is good, solid, fundamental mortgage product for consumers and massive amounts of equity. And when you look at that, Nicole, what happens is you immediately say, oh, I can see why there was a problem, and I can see how there is no problem today.
Oh, of course. Well, even if you remind people, I mean, it's funny because I joke about it. Like my husband and I were still in college, and we got a mortgage. We didn't have a job. Like we did the interest only thing. Our mortgage was like $300 a month. We were like, this is awesome. Like it's cheaper than rent.
Right.
Like we couldn't afford it. Like there. So it's so very different. I mean, if you just kind of remind people of, I'm certain 5 out of 10 of the people that were buying homes back then legitimately couldn't afford them, but they were still handing them out. So,
Well, speaking of mortgages, go to the link below and send your clients over to Tomo. Tomo are friends of yours.
Yeah.
It's a mortgage without losing your marbles.
Yes.
They don't do any refis.
Yes.
Are you aware of that?
Okay, when I was first told, okay, so what's going to be different about you? The first thing they said was, we're not doing refis. And I literally said, hallelujah, because of the number of banking relationships and partnerships that I have that would like sponsor my events. And, we got to meet with agents, Ferry. Introduce us to more agents. Then the refi market would hit and they were all gone.
They're gone.
They would vanish just like that. So if you start saying, I am agent centric first, I am consumer centric first, and I'm not going to buy into the noise, there's a $2 trillion TAM in new mortgages every year. There's enough there to just focus on doing something exceptionally well.
Tomo's
which is why, though,
that's
absolutely why. Yeah.
So they're focused on that one, focus of bringing buyers to the closing table with a great 100%. Mortgage. Try Tomo.
A great experience.
A great experience. So try Tomo, get your clients over to Tomo so that they will send you more referrals. Right. Hey guys, appreciate you checking out this episode of The Real Word. If you want the full episode, go over to the Broke Agent YouTube. That's where we're hosting the full podcast. If you want to continue to see the segments broken out and the short clips, stay right here on The Real Word YouTube.